dozens upon dozens of theories and questions of what's next. Not just for the next few games tackling Norse mythology, but potentially down the road with the exploration of other pantheons. Something teased in the 2018 installment and a few murals which depict Tyr, the Norse god of war, interacting and establishing relationships with that of the Mayan, Japanese, Greek, Egyptian, and Celtic pantheons. Shortly before God of War's release in 2018, in an interview with Game Informer, creative director Cory Barlog actually commented on the possibility of Kratos further branching out into other mythology, saying, "We may end up going on to the Egyptian era and then the Mayan era, and so on and so forth." Around this time, in an interview with Kotaku, Barlog further elaborated on his view of the God of War universe, saying, "I've always looked at this universe like our world. The geography separates the cultural mythologies. The cultural mythologies are stories of the 0 point to present day. These are the birth and the origin of these cultures. So the Norse mythology exists in Scandinavia and simultaneously across the world. The Mayan mythology has its own origins, right? These are cultural stories about how they explain the birth of their cultures, and I think, as I look at the whole world, that each of these gods had their own domains, right? The way that countries had their own domains. So all of this sets up the possibility of Kratos' journey continuing for many, many years to come, unless Sony Santa Monica is preparing to go in a different, new, bold direction. The ending of God of War 2018 presented many questions about the immediate and long-term future. With Baldur's death, Fimbulwinter had begun, and Ragnarok was quickly approaching, an event that was constantly mentioned throughout the game, mostly by Mimir.
It is said that when Jormungandr and Thor battle at Ragnarok, their clash so violently shakes the Tree of Life that it splinters, casting the serpent backward through time, even before his own birth.
What?
That is madness.
Well, I did say not to concern yourself.
Why is Odin so desperate to find a way into Jotunheim anyway?
He's convinced the giants hold the key to changing his fate when Ragnarok comes. They are the Aesir's oldest enemies, after all, and it's their army that's supposed to do him in the end. But more than that, he covets their gifts of prophecy. He wants to know what they know and see what they see. So much suffering could have been avoided if his insatiable curiosity was not so much stronger than his wisdom.
Ragnarok will bring about the end of the world, even for the Aesir gods who for many years have gone out of their way to avoid their fate. Mimir tells stories to Kratos and Atreus of the bloody measures the Aesir and Vanir gods have undertaken to prevent the inevitable. Odin is taken to learn as much about the future and attempt to alter his destiny by any means. Freya used a powerful spell on her son Baldur, knowing his death was prophesized and was to bring about Ragnarok. Thor went on a murderous, cruel rampage which resulted in the death of many of the Jotnar and Midgard and Jotunheim. Still though, the giants knew what was to come thanks to their gift of seeing visions of the future, something that made Odin jealous, paranoid, and mad. Kratos' wife and Atreus' mother, the giantess Faye, used her gift to leave markings and essentially directions for Kratos and Atreus. She knew what was to come, the journey they would take, and the decisions that they would have to make. Cory Barlog referred to her crucial role in God of War as that of a dungeon master. Everything she did was for a reason. God of War 2018 is just full of so many small but key details, such as when Kratos chucks the Leviathan axe into the Lake of the Nine, getting the attention of the World Serpent, who then rises from the water, spitting the Leviathan axe out of his mouth back to the boat Kratos and Atreus were using. But if you look closely, the axe has been changed. The phrase "Aether imbued" is displayed, meaning the serpent's venom is now part of the axe, which is of magnificent importance. In Ragnarok, it's prophesied that the World Serpent and Thor will face off, with the serpent being hit so hard that he's sent back before his birth. It's revealed in God of War 2018 that Jormungandr one day mysteriously just appeared in the Lake of the Nine, which is likely the result of what happens in Ragnarok. In real Norse mythology, both Jormungandr and Thor are supposed to kill each other. Thor slays the World Serpent and afterwards takes a few steps and dies because of the serpent's venom that had been spewed at him during the fight. Now in God of War, Jormungandr's venom is within Kratos' axe, which could be hinting that Kratos will kill the God of Thunder. By far, the biggest revelation from God of War 2018 was the ending, in which Atreus is revealed to be Loki, the trickster, shape-shifting god, which plays a significant role in Ragnarok. Jormungandr in the 2018 installment tells Mimir that Atreus is familiar to him, and that might be because, at least in Norse mythology, Loki is the father of the World Serpent.
What else did the serpent tell you when you spoke? Kinda sounded important.
and ruler of Helheim, and Fenrir, the wolf giant which is destined to kill and be killed by Odin. Also teased at the end of the game was the possible death of Kratos. A mural is shown only to Kratos, which appears to have Atreus holding his father in his arms dying. Writing around the mural says death, father, mourned, and betrayal, which is of course open to interpretation. Some believe this might not even be Kratos, but that of Odin or even Tyr. Some believe Kratos, who is Farbadi, could also be Tyr. Lots of questions, lots of theories, and only time will tell for what all of this means. It is important to know that Cory Barlog has said that they teased a lot in God of War 2018 for the future.
You could go back and you could look at it, so much so that if we do a second game or a third game, you're going to go back to the first one and you're going to be like, oh my God, that was there. Right? I have so many things in there that are just setups for much later and much, much later and really far later. So I'm a lunatic.
The big secret conclusion of God of War 2018 was Atreus having a vision of Thor coming to their home a few years later, summoning a storm, revealing his nuclear bomb of a weapon Mjolnir, and very likely looking to avenge the deaths of his half-brother and sons. This showdown is expected to happen in God of War 2, Ragnarok, or whatever you wish to refer to the sequel as for now. In September 2020, we got our first teaser trailer, which didn't show too much, but we had an updated now blue cold omega symbol, with the runes now spelling out Ragnarok, and Kratos says, "The time grows near, you must prepare yourself," with snow flowing in the background. The trailer concludes with the text, "Ragnarok is coming," slowly transitioning in along with the 2021 release window. A year prior, with celebrating God of War 2018's 1-year anniversary, Sony Santa Monica released a new God of War PS4 dynamic theme, which included a secret tease in the boat Kratos and Atreus were using. It was Nordic runes that translates into Ragnarok is coming. So it's quite clear that Sony Santa Monica has been teasing this for quite some time. But what if Ragnarok is to go when he said on Twitter, "I've got a nice shiny bridge to sell anyone who thinks God of War is coming out this year." Regardless, Sony Santa Monica has been busy for quite some time on this sequel. In early 2019, a developer teased motion capture work had begun, and throughout the year the studio went on a mass hiring spree. Just a number of weeks ago, Cory Barlog put out a tweet likely referencing this next God of War by telling fans it's coming when it's done. Sony definitely sounds like they're willing to give the studio as much time as they need, with PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst saying a number of weeks ago that God of War Ragnarok is his most anticipated game, and further teased that I cannot wait for people to see what Santa Monica is making. Now, for what platforms this next game will be available on, Sony has again been silent on this. In November 2020, PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan was asked about this and declined to give an answer. So there's a chance that this launches on both the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5.